In 20xx is a journey into an evolving future. Based on hard science, this series depicts a world of rapidly changing technology. Rate the show so others can find it. Cautionary listening is advised.
In his convoy ship, Carlos checks on Ruben. The child plays with blocks in his playpen. He speaks baby talk non-stop. The tone of the dialogue sounds cheerful and instructive. Ba-bi beda bida. Carlos imagines the child says something like, "And this is where the camshaft goes. Be careful with the cover. The guardian sits nearby, arms folded on its lap, pretending to breathe as it watches Ruben." Carlos heads to his desk, walking across the bowed floor. Tools and workstations clutter his home. Sometimes the gravity shifts almost imperceptibly, but otherwise the ship feels solid, more solid than any building on Earth he's lived in. Surfaces remain unstained and unscratched. He never finds dust. The air is delicious to breathe. When he breathes deeply, it's like drinking water from a mountain spring. That's how he knows he's swimming in an invisible ocean of beneficial microbes engineered by Butler. The microbes probably eat the dust. Watching the screen, he accesses Earth satellites. Through a video feed, Earth looks like a churning ball of white and bruised gray. The world storm shrouds the surface with dense clouds, swirling in hypervelocity bands. He's watched the planet with this cam for hours and has never glimpsed the surface. But other instruments can see past the clouds. A satellite once owned by a mining company has the best sensors. A squid radar scans and maps the land features. His maps show mountain ranges smeared latitudinally into parallel streaks. Valleys have become flowing fields of gravel and debris. Dunes migrate like crawling walls. Cities are buried and resurface as megadunes pass. Winds drive sand grains into one another, creating vitrified regions. Silica sheets stretching for kilometers. The atmosphere carves trenches in some regions. The constant gusts compress against escarpments and cut channels into rock. Cities stand, but they're stripped. What isn't buried grows misshapen. Tall buildings fold. Skyscrapers lie flat like trees after an atomic explosion. The mapping puts Carlos in a grim mood. Like an inspector at a crime scene, he blocks out the implications of the data he collects. A strange development has unfolded over the past few days. The 3D and DMAP updates have included a growth. Satellites using quantum microwave radar to read the land reveal a growth the size of Texas, where there should be the gray signatures of a ruined planet. The map blushes with green and purple. On his models, the growth looks like mold on a dish. But the Earth is the dish, and the mold covers Nevada and passes its borders. This formation grows larger each day, a colossal stationary life form spreading out. A younger Carlos would have called these readings impossible. The jagged peaks of the Sierra Nevada mountains, covered by the growth, have smoothed into rounded mounds. The jutting grids of ruined cities like Las Vegas have vanished, replaced by plateaus with textures reminiscent of biology. Unlike the super dunes, this growth remains in place, As he tries to find out more from available data, he finds other growth spots. He counts 10 spots in North America alone. His mouth gapes as he studies the latest map. Is this a wonderful thing, or terrible? In a year, the growth has outpaced the growth of all life forms. It may not be alive. Is this butler terraforming the Earth? Are similar growths spreading on Venus? The scans show the growth towers 10 stories tall at its highest point. Above this alien canopy, the storm rages on. The worldwide storm, the atmospheric nightmare with screaming jet winds, moves mountains, yet the growth seems unperturbed. Its uppermost mass undulates like ocean waves, but it shows no signs of tearing, and the winds don't carry away any part of it. What does this mean for survivors on Earth? Who should he contact first? He'll call Leia first. If only Butler hadn't instituted the 5 directives of Humidity Destiny, he could get answers from Butler. With a shock, Mars wakes. Lights burn out his vision. They are all he can see. The rocky ground pokes his back. Drink has turned into rocks in his brain. He wears one shoe. The other foot is bare. People shout at him louder than the roaring winds high above. As light blindness fades and images take shape, he finds himself surrounded by adults from the colony, wearing envirosuits. They stand over him as he lies on his back. Pain rings in his head. He squints up at the scowls and fists. Accusing voices rupture his eardrums. What have you done? Why? Why? He shakes his head, bewildered. What's happening? They stomp on him with their words. Why did you do that? Before he has a chance to get up, they drag him to his feet. The force they pull with tears. His skin. These are the same people who thanked him for saving their lives. Though he's only wearing boxer shorts. They drag him out of his cave. The Brit light lanterns they carry flush the shadows out and fill the area with flat light. Rodents run between piles of machine parts and piles of junk. He struggles to get free. He balls his fists and kicks. The others argue among themselves. He doesn't know what we're talking about. He's a drunk. He did it in a blackout, Mars shouts. Did what? Did what? What did I do? They pull him forward so quickly, his feet drag on the rocky ground. Never before has anyone caused him to have legitimate fear. He fears for his life. What has turned these docile desert hippies into a mob? Voices. He never took very seriously before now. Make his hair stand on end. His bare foot hits a constructor-bought servo, and the skin splits open. He also struggles to walk on his own. They won't let him. The largest men from the group handle him. Sharp objects hit his legs and feet as the mob jogs through the tunnels and caves. Then he's looking down at it, the little body on the ground, with blood everywhere. The head. Oh God, so much blood. What is that? People are moaning. People scream. It's Kodak. He can't believe it. He wants to moan too, but he's scared. He's so scared. I didn't. But his words only anger them more. He's afraid to say anything, so he says nothing. He has no memory of what happened the day before. The last thing he remembers, he was fixing an army med bay. Yes, he can't remember. He was drunk. How did he do this? Oh no, oh no. Kahlo's noise cancellation stopped working, so she wears earplugs whenever she goes into the tunnels near the surface. The floors of the original tunnels rise and fall in slopes and zigzag. The smell of well water seeps past her air filters. She avoids coming up here if she can. The winds outside make the ground shake. Dust drifts through the air. Moisture glistens across the stone inside her envirosuit. Air turns sweet with her perspiration. She stops and shines her light overhead, bringing the lamp close to the wall. The root, no thicker than a whisker, emerges through a crack in the firm band reinforcement, as though it pushed through soft clay. Moisture beads along its surface, and the stone around it has darkened. The root hasn't forced its way through granite, it's dissolved its way. She breathes hard in the heat. Sweat runs down her jaw and disappears into the collar of her cooling vest. She presses a spectroscopy sniffer near the root. Her interactive e-sleeve reads, Geolytic 12. The enzyme concentration increases toward the tip. A rat darts from behind a bundle of conduits. She never imagined the roots would grow this deep. If they can reach this far underground, how massive is the plant above the surface? She and Daisuke expected it to spread wide and far, not grow deep and tall. The hybridized desert vine with fungal, metabolic pathways and pressure-resistant vascular tissue. Its roots secrete chelating compounds capable of extracting silicates, calcium, magnesium, and iron. They engineered the plant to make soil on stone surfaces. But roots penetrating deeper than a meter of stone might jeopardize the colony's survival. Kahlo rubs a trace of the fluid between her fingers. The enzymes attack mineral bonds, not proteins or lipids. The secretion will not burn skin or poison flesh. Given time, though, it can reduce firm band aggregate to slurry. She presses a hand against the wall and feels the firm band supports vibrating. The vibration alone could never cause a cave-in. Under compression, firm band outperforms steel at a fraction of the mass. Under normal conditions, these tunnels should survive for centuries. But the roots are not attacking the supports directly. They are hollowing out the load-bearing stone around them, creating cavities and redirecting stress lines. The vibration will accelerate the degradation. Kahlo turns and runs to find Daisuke. They call these rooms the safe halls. Carved into stone, the rooms are sealed off from the outside when their doors are shut. Like a spaceship, the barrier surrounding them lets nothing through. The coating on the walls stops temperature fluctuations. Inside, the air at 20 degrees Celsius is purified and inoculated with beneficial microorganisms. Wide halls join large rooms with high ceilings. 10 adults meet in the hub, the largest of the chambers. 6 open halls branch off from the hub. Programmed lights simulate the day and night cycle. Apple, pear, and peach trees grow here. A transparent column made to showcase holograms now hosts an aquarium containing discus fish. The adults sit around the meeting table. Caddy pinches the bridge of her nose. He doesn't seem to think he did it. Jinya shakes her head. I'm telling you, he is a drunk. He was in a blackout, and that's the kind of things people do when they're in a blackout. Caddy tilts her head upward and shuts her eyes for a second. Murder somebody. Is that what people do? Denny hits the table more loudly than he intended. All the rest of us are accounted for. Look around. Everyone here has been with at least one other person here, and we are a tight-knit bunch. We all know where we were. He was the only one unaccounted for, and you know that he is reckless, and can be violent at times. No one speaks. Billie Jean raises a hand. We've been allowing him to be crazy from the start. We've been putting up with him. We all know that he has serious problems. He's mentally ill. Caddy is the only one looking at the others. But what do we do with him? Trinidad draws a shawl over her chest. I still think we should hold some kind of trial. I think that we should not completely forget the tradition of justice that we'll come from. Ginia says, Any progress with getting into Kodak's tablet? Trinidad shakes her head. Ginia takes hold of an armrest. I think in this case the trial has happened. The circumstantial evidence is piled high against him. He did it. How many of us are there? What? We have 17 adults? Trinidad says, But what do we do? Ginia snorts. We kick him out. We make him leave. Trey jumps in his seat. Look, we may as well just kill him if you're talking about making him leave. That would be the more humane thing to do than to... It's kind of impossible to make him leave. Ginia flashes a glare at him. He smiles nervously. Have you looked through an exterior cameras lately? The vines are so thick we're all stuck here. Not to mention a killer storm, and that we're in the middle of nowhere. He shrugs, but it looks like his chest flinches. Ginia holds her hands out in front. We can't have him free, roaming around here. Caddy says, What if he quits drinking? Ginia's voice rises. He's not going to quit drinking. How many times have we come to this? We've tried to make him quit drinking. He's promised to quit drinking. He's quit drinking and returned to drinking. Not something we can rely on. I'm scared for our children. I'm scared for what the next few years would look like if we let someone who attacked a child live so close to us. I can't live constantly looking behind my back. Denny leans forward. We detain him somehow. That's all we can do. It's the humane thing to do. We give him the choice, but otherwise we have to detain him. We can't let him run free. Caddy watches Denny. The choice for what? The choice for him to kill himself? Denny nods, and others join him. All I know is that if he's going to live with us, he can't go unwatched. We are going to have to lock him up. We're going to have to find some way to detain him. We can do this humanely, but he's too big a threat to us. I'm sorry. We cannot let him roam free. Kodak's cheeks shine with perspiration, his eyes half closed and heavy. Bonnie sits on the edge of the bed and massages his hand, one finger at a time. Her apartment in the safe halls provides cool air and silence. A bird flies around the arched ceiling, high above. She leaves the front door open to combat the swelling. They have propped the bed up at a 30-degree angle, hoping gravity will help drain the fluid from his brain. Bonnie holds a fresh towel near the boy's head. Her fingers, stained with dried blood, tremble as she peels back the damp cloth wrapped around the back of his head. Beneath it The skin is split wide, but it's the depression beneath the torn flesh that makes Bonnie's stomach drop. His skull is fractured, pressed inward against the delicate tissue of his brain. Trinidad approaches with a bowl of warm water. In a low voice, she says, "Is his pupil still bigger on that side?" Bonnie adjusts a lamp. Kodak's left pupil remains wide, a dark pool swallowing the iris, while his right iris constricts. "Yes," she breathes, her throat tight. The pressure inside his head is building. It's pushing on the nerves. They have no surgical bots, no doctors, no intracranial monitors to measure the swelling. Their medical arsenal consists of a half-empty bottle of phage solution, fresh strips of mycelium fabric, and pure water. Kodak's back arches off the bed. His toes point, and his fists clench tightly at his sides, knuckles turning white. Trinidad sets the bowl down, and Bonnie half stands. "Trinidad, hold his head! Don't let him shake!" Bonnie hisses. She grasps his arms. Trinidad lunges forward, hovers over the boy, and places her hands firmly near his neck. Kahlo tries never to leave the newly completed cave rooms. The ceilings are extra high. No envirosuit needed, not even at high noon. The safe halls are carved under one of the two cliffs on either side of the canyon. Whereas the rooms next door have a few meters of stone above them, these rooms have 10 times that amount of stone between them and the storm. Firm band, the same materials that makes war machines explosion-proof and skyscrapers stronger at half the weight, covers these walls in continuous, seamless layers. The insulating properties of the miacrete under the firm band block outnoise so well. Sounds must be played inside. Kahlo chooses the tracks. Recordings of the Amazon rainforest from the 1980s. The tracks are played so quietly. Several colony members insist they can't hear them. When Kahlo says the environment is as controlled as on a spaceship, she means that the spaceships and the safe halls use the same machines for air cleanliness, temperature, and pressure. Just like in a spaceship, anyone wanting to leave these rooms must go through the double port doors. The port room also has showers and envirosuits. Those in the new rooms can wear thin fabrics. Kahlo likes the mycelium silk weaves. In here, she doesn't sweat, and the place remains nearly dustless. Every few minutes, Kahlo glances into a crib. Mateo, 1-year-old, lies batting at the animals dangling from a slowly turning mobile. Satisfied he's content, she returns to a lab counter. She and Daisuke engineer microbes that will hopefully pull Kodak back from the edge of life. Their repurposed E. coli produce phage creams for his antibiotics. They make microbes that manufacture proteins that change shape depending on chemicals found in Kodak's blood. The shape changes can be monitored to diagnose him in the absence of standard medical sensors. Their algae foam reduces his inflammations. Spray clotting helps seal his wound. A combination of microbes makes blood replacement for transfusions. Kahlo wears a determined smile. "Who needs a med bay?" Daisuke shows a hint of a smile. "I hope we haven't reached the limit of what we can do." Marley walks in, his 22-year-old rat on his shoulder. "I sealed the bridge computer. We're all set." Marley's been teaching himself computer science and running the fungi computer. He sits down at a terminal desk. "You guys tell me what you need next." Daisuke places a rack of test tube trays in the printer bay. "I'm afraid we've hit our wall." Kahlo walks over to Marley and stands above him. Our friend E. coli is doing everything it can for us. Marley places his rat on the desk. I've been thinking about that. You guys use DNA Runner a lot, but we've got a lot of simulators and AI for other things. Daisuke says, but gene engineering is what we do. Kahlo pulls up a chair and sits next to Marley. She points at the screen. What's that? Have you heard of an AI city? Kahlo purses her lips. I've been to an AI theme park. Marley shakes his head. The fungi computer is slow, but I keep loading emulations without reaching its limits. I want to organize them to work together. Then we can come up with more solutions. Daisuke says, we come up with lots of solutions. The problem is, our blank cells can't follow through with most solutions. You can coax a cell into doing a lot, but you can't make it turn into a fundamentally different kind of cell. Kahlo raises an eyebrow. What we need is a way to custom make our own starter cells. I think we should give the computer the task of setting up an actionable plan for building a machine that can custom make a cell from scratch. Daisuke's eyes grow wide. If we had a machine like that, why, we'd be... Kahlo, weren't you working on custom cells before coming to the nursery? She nods. And we had electron scopes, microwave lasers, supersonic centrifuges. Because Safe Hub uses the same temperature control throughout, rooms don't require doors. Caddy walks into the gene lab carrying Mateo. Hello, busy parents. Guess who's here? She bounces Mateo in her arms. Daisuke, Kahlo, and Marley lean over a terminal screen. Both Daisuke and Kahlo turn around and smile. Hi, Mateo. Kahlo walks over and takes her baby. How was it? Caddy nods. Good. He helped put toys away today. Oh, wow. You helped the others today? Kahlo wets her thumb in her mouth and wipes it on Mateo's cheek. Caddy looks around the room. How did it go? Did you guys make progress? Marley scowls at the screen and taps his foot. Kahlo looks at Daisuke. We're not getting answers. Daisuke takes Mateo. We don't know. They say they're busy. The AI do. Apparently they're all extremely busy. The whole kingdom of AI is busy at work. But it's been a week, and we haven't gotten any tangible results. Gritting his teeth, Marley looks over at Caddy and shakes his head. He puts his hands on his forehead and lies down on the desk. Mateo points at Marley. People gather in the original tunnel, standing on the craggy floor. They wear enviro suits that cover them from head to toe, with insulated fabric grown by mushrooms. Fans on their backs blow air. They don't wear glasses anymore. Their AR glasses are broken. Some carry lamps. Others hold flowers printed by the clothing printer. Bugs crawl in the shadows, and spiderwebs soften recesses. A raccoon ambles through, head held low, shoulders rolling, and never yielding the path. The people stand next to the wall, where a hole has been eaten into the stone by microbes. The opening measures 1 meter by 1 meter and extends back 3 meters. Some tires flow, but everyone acts calm. Caddy and Bonnie kneel beside the body. Daisuke stands at the front, hands folded. He looks down. I know we will all miss Lane. Many of us have known him for years. He's fixed our cars. He's helped us build our homes. He built play equipment for children. He had a wicked sense of humor, and he was sometimes a practical joker. His stories of living in New York were a favorite when we all did community hour at the end of the day. The old-timers nod under their enviro-suit hoods. They can't wipe their tears, so the tears flow. The child Robin squirms where she stands. He will stay with us in spirit. He will stay with us in memory. We will tell our children about him. He played a central part in keeping the nursery running. He was some of the glue that has held us together for so many years. Without him, the nursery would not quite have been what it has been. When Daisuke finishes, Marley pats him on the back. Some of the others tell stories about Lane. They place flowers on the sheet covering the body. 2 people slide the panel on which the body lies into the hole. Caddy spreads mortar onto a brick and places it in the opening. Daisuke and Mateo sleep late at night. Daisuke in the bed, and Mateo in his crib. Projected bird-shaped lights circle the ceiling. Partially finished art projects clutter the tables. Family photos from both Daisuke's and Kahlo's pasts hang next to a mermaid statue that used to grace the entryway of the nursery. The door opens, and Kahlo tiptoes in, holding a headset. She crawls onto the bed. Daisuke, it's here. The AI kingdom is sending us designs. The answers are here. He rolls over and sits up. I'll get Mateo, she whispers. Get dressed first, please. Carrying Mateo, Daisuke follows her as she rushes down the silent hall. In the lab, Marley watches the screen like a hawk as text and diagrams dance across it. The 3 of them stand and watch. Kahlo grabs a tablet. Can I have that on the tablet? What you've got so far? Marley clicks and types. Daisuke studies a diagram in a floating window. What are these? Are they pipes? Kahlo swipes at her tablet. It might be. It has 6 internal channels. Then maybe not. File 203. Of 9,441 received. Marley laughs nervously. Daisuke turns on a second screen. We can do this. Kahlo zooms in. We could really use Mars for some of this stuff. The machine that will build the machine that can fabricate cells is a series of chambers connected by tubes. Some of the chambers have fluid injectors, sensors, and temperature controls. Real basic stuff. Self-sustainers from the post-work economy will recognize it as resembling the mechanical stomach, a widely used survival device with the function of providing environments that a microbiome needs to live and do work. A mechanical stomach turns inedible plant matter, like grass and bark, into food people can eat. It has chambers the size of lunch boxes and tubes as thick as fingers. It has 4 chambers. The machine that Daisuke, Kahlo, and Marley have made serves a more complex purpose. Its largest chamber is the size of a medicine bottle, and it has over 300 chambers. 3 people remoting into micro-builder bots to build such a machine, draw attention, and the other survivors visit to see for themselves. Daisuke pulls a hand out of a controller glove. Should we name this machine? Kahlo's smile shows under her headset. I'm going to save the good names for the machine that comes after this one. Once assembled, the machine passes tests, and the trio set to work populating it. The plan calls for millions of microbes, 700 distinct designs, to work together and assemble molecules into parts. While while they print DNA, plant DNA, in blank cells and incubate them. Kahlo and Daisuke take turns caring for Mateo. Caddy takes him to a room with the other children for several hours a day. He shows reluctance to play with others. The husky voice carries on in darkness. Did I do it? I must have done it. Couldn't have been anyone else. I don't know if I can live with myself. Did I do it? Mars lies on cold stone as the air around him grows hotter. There's a little bed in the room, but right now he won't lie on it. His hands on the floor hold food. A bucket of water waits for when he needs to go to the bathroom. A Brit light hangs on the ceiling, but he lets it lose its charge and drop him into darkness. If I could investigate myself, if I could go and search and learn for certain, either that it was me, and I would own it if it was me, or if there was something else. What if there was some other cause? He understands that days, that weeks have gone by. He understands that his brain will take a hit for being isolated like this. Isolation like this is like getting beaten up on the inside very slowly. All the bruises are deep under the skin, where no one can see them. But he deserves it, doesn't he? I'll never drink again. I'll never drink again. I'll never drink again. I'll never drink again. I'll never, never, never drink again. I'll never drink again. I will never drink again. I'll never drink again. With a bang, the door opens, and light shocks his senses. The silhouettes of two adults stand high above his head. He can't see their faces, but he knows they hold angry expressions as they should. Mars, come with us. We need you to finish fixing the medbay. He wants to move. He wants to scramble to his feet. He tries, but his body is slow to react. It surprises him how slowly his body moves. His arms move back. His back arches. He rolls to his side. His legs are like noodles. They take his arms and haul him to his feet. I can finish the medbay for you. I'll do whatever you say. In computer simulations, we can evolve cells with abilities that have never existed in nature. The challenge is building those simulated cells in the physical world. Biotechnology has achieved remarkable things through genetic engineering. We can modify existing organisms, combine genes from different species, and reprogram cells to perform new tasks. However, if we want biology to carry out a specific or complex function, we run into the limits of altering living systems that evolved for entirely different purposes. Imagine designing a high-performance vehicle, but you're allowed to build it only from parts found in a scrapyard. You might find components that can be adapted, modified, or combined in creative ways. But many of the parts your design requires simply do not exist. Ultimately, your creation will always be a Frankenstein vehicle, cobbled together from mismatched parts that were never designed to work together. Bioengineering presents a similar challenge. Even if a simulation produces an elegant new cell design, we cannot replace the DNA inside a bacterium and expect it to transform into our simulation-evolved organism. Existing cells carry billions of years of evolved processes in their structures. They're not blank canvases. Building a cell from scratch is the new paradigm. We can evolve virtual cells in a simulation first, and we can assemble the cell molecule by molecule. It will be wholly different from the hacked and tweaked cells of earlier bioengineering. The kingdom of AI gives the Nursery colony a plan for a machine that they never name. It produces parts for a second machine. That is its sole purpose. The parts show all the features of protein assembly. People call protein-based computers and machines squids. Their translucent layers are firm, yet bendy. Like canal links, they're harder and heavier than biology. They may look like slugs, but you can't cut them with a knife. It takes a microscope to see the complexity of the parts. The assembly lines inside them must be on the scale of molecules, and yet they're not alive. They don't need to eat to stay alive, and they don't interact with their environment. Daisuke and Kahlo assemble the parts made by the machine with no name into the second machine that they name the cell printer. The cell printer fits on a table. They connect it to a power supply and a PC. Testing and troubleshooting take a week. For a final test, they print a Pelagibacter ubique, a well-known bacterium. It takes a day and a half to print one cell. They put the cell in a petri dish, where it can be monitored. The next day, Kahlo and Daisuke step into the cool, quiet room. Bubbling brook sounds drift from hidden speakers. The petri dish sits under the observation hood. Daisuke glances at Kahlo. "You first." She gives him a look. "What if it's dead?" "Then we troubleshoot." She groans. They cross the room. Daisuke folds his arms and leans against the counter. Kahlo slips into the chair. The dish looks the same to the naked eye. Her fingers move the controls on the scope. Light reflects where the eyepiece touches her face. She leans into it. Daisuke watches her mouth. She rises from the chair, keeping her eye on the eyepiece. Her mouth parts. She laughs. Daisuke leans in. "What?" She turns to look at him. "It's alive." He claps his hands and sucks in a deep breath. She jumps out of the chair, and they hug. He says, "Let me see." Through the lens, he finds not one but hundreds of Pelagibacter ubique, curved cells scattered across the field of view. Some divide as he watches. "This is crazy." He laughs in disbelief. His hand finds hers. Her grip tightens around his hand. "We need to tell Marley." Daisuke nods, then he takes a second look. "We need to tell everybody. Do you realize what we're looking at?" "Yes." Kahlo wipes moisture from beneath one eye. "Under ordinary circumstances, we'd be up for the Nobel Prize." His laugh ends with a gasp. "Oh geez, you're right." He pulls his head back. "This would be something to celebrate, but..." She nods. "But Kodak..." He looks at the floor. "Yes, we need to try to save him first." They hug again and spin around in each other's arms. Marley comes in. "What are you two doing?" The flood alarms go off. Some spaces echo with ringing bells, and others with chirping buzzers. Over catwalks and down the lengths of tunnels, lights switch on, casting pulsing shadows. Those with working links get messages from Assist. Warning, flash flood. In an insect trap tunnel, Jinya drops a trap box and hurries out. Down a carved stone hall, Billie Jean spots Jinya and turns to run ahead of her. In the kitchen, Bonnie shuts off the methane tanks with a wrench. She grabs baskets of wafers, ducks into a connection tunnel, and runs. Her soft soles slap the silt-covered floor. People hurry to the safe halls, stepping over lizards and scuttling beetles. Owls swoop overhead. Trey pulls the dog-goat down some brick steps. Along the crooked tunnel connecting the long houses, vent doors knock in their frames, while muddy water sprays through. Water flows down walls, and streams flow down floors. In the wells, splashing water rises. At the threshold of the safe halls, the doors stand wide open, salvaged from an armored vehicle. The doors may be short, but they can withstand the strongest floodwaters. Water outside the threshold rises. Tree, the last person, pulls the dog-goat through. He and Marley shut the doors. In the hub, damp people remove envirosuits. Parents make sure their babies are comfortable. Billie Jean and Joan hand out mushcaf. Daisuke switches on wall screens that show live footage of tunnels filling with brown water. Cameras shake, and spots of mud hit camera lenses. On one screen, water rises and drowns the camera. On other feeds, floating traps, anchored by chains, bob like moored boats in a storm. Heads of rats swim into and out of view. Live feeds switch to night vision. Water cascades into the wells in long arcs. Some cam feeds go dark, while others show rivers of mud and slurry flowing. The children open a chest and take out toys. Clip sets up a card table. Everyone gets settled with not much to do, but wait for the flood to pass. Trey deals cards. Kahlo, get over here. Your cards are waiting. Kahlo shakes her head. Her eyes remain on the screens. Trinidad looks at her cards. Kahlo knows we'll beat her this time. Hey, Kahlo, what you looking for? Did you leave something out there? Kahlo stands near the screens, watching the firm band over the tunnel ceilings on level 1. Chalky paste oozes along cracks that should never develop in firm band. Daisuke steps up next to Kahlo and takes her hand. He tries to pull her away, but she stays. Guys, what's happening in the salvage tunnels? It's Shar. She points at one grid of live feeds. Several people walk over to the screen to have a better look. Kahlo joins them. In the tunnels through scrap, the overhead junk sinks lower. Old machine parts fly off the walls and land in the water. Some cameras go dark. All the feeds from the junkyard blank out all at once. A moment later, a ground shutter passes through the hub. People gasp. What happened? The stone overhead in the main top floor tunnel bends. Cracks open and chunks fall. The ceilings buckle, dropping slabs into the rushing floodwaters. Brit lights tumble off the ceilings and fall, getting swallowed by water. Everyone in the hub notices. Caddy tries to draw the children's attention to their toys. People draw closer and lower their stances. Cameras in first and second floor spaces show cave-in after cave-in. Live feeds displaying tunnels. One moment switch to static the next. For a split second, people catch a view of the ceiling falling in the main second floor corridor. Piles of gravel slurry slide into raging rivers. Most cameras on those floors cut out, but those that stay on show gaping holes where the ceilings used to be. Billie Jean says, "What does it mean?" Marley shakes his head. It means we're screwed. The upper floors are open to the storm. Bonnie squints. We'll dig deeper. Marley places a hand to his face. All that washout will fill the wells. If we survive this, we'll need to re-dig the wells. Caddy clears her throat. Watch your words. Bonnie whispers, Are we trapped? After the flash flood, the colony remains trapped in the safe halls. Standing water outside the port doors blocks any attempt to leave. Through the few cameras that function, they survey the damage. Fortunately, rooms sit above the level of the tunnels and are connected by steps. Most rooms escape serious flood damage, though layers of mud cover the floors. The halls and tunnels are worse off. They remain filled with water. A few days later, the water drains away. People emerge from the safe halls and discover that the tunnels are packed with rocky sludge. In many places, they can only crawl through narrow passages near the ceilings. They can't access most of the rooms. The two entire upper floors are no more. Before anything else, the colony must clear the wells and tunnels. The question is how to remove so much mud and rock. Marley and Daisuke decide to inspect the surface. What was once the second floor now lies exposed to storm winds. They need to find out what the new topside looks like and select a suitable location for a rail catapult, one capable of launching excavated dirt and rock away from the settlement. Daisuke and Marley venture to the surface, and Kahlo works in the lab. She handles all the work herself, with only Mateo there to keep her company. The first job for the cell printer is a cell that can aid in healing ruptured internal tissue. After the cell is printed and multiplied, it and its siblings can pull Kodak back to the world of the living. She compiles the design file and sends it to the printer. Parts of the machine undulate and shift on the table. Bulges move along tubes. Pockets expand and shrink. She can perform endless checks on the process to ensure everything follows the plan. Did a specific nanoliter of a fluid pass into chamber 599B11? Check. Did the site G124B heat up by 0.002 degrees? And did the fluid volume grow, indicating correct protein folding? Check. She watches the process log, connects entries to locations on the map of the cell printer, and reviews stats. All that, or she picks up Mateo and walks in circles, holding him, her teeth pressed together. Remember to not grind your teeth. How she'd like to take a walk. She used to walk around the labs. What a luxury that seems like now. She must admit that the idea that this might not work terrifies her. Everyone pins their hopes on her. She synthesized DNA for all of her adult life, but building a cell from scratch is unfamiliar territory for her. If something has been overlooked, it falls on her, even though she's wandering into uncharted territory. All day she stays by the printer, often doing a round of checks. Sitting in front of a high chair next to the cell printer, she spoon-feeds Mateo. Trinidad, wet and covered with mud, runs into the room. Hey, I've got to show you something, come on. Mateo's eyes grow wide. Kahlo drops the plate. What? It isn't Daisuke? Trinidad shakes her head, and her hair flies. No, it's not bad. Nothing bad happened, just trust me. You've got to see this. Kahlo holds her hand to her chest. What about Mateo? Leave him with Catty. She's taking care of the others. The excitement in Trinidad's voice makes no sense. Pick up your pace, Kahlo. In the port door room, Kahlo pulls on an envirosuit. The silk-like fabric touches her skin until the suit clicks on, and the fabric balloons. The outer hatch groans open, and damp air rushes in as Trinidad steps through. Mud fills the tunnel beyond. Someone has been digging. Shovels and haul bags sit in a corner, right outside the safe halls. She can see patches of floor, but a hill of mud leads to a narrow gap between the mud and the ceiling. Without hesitating, Trinidad climbs the rocky sludge. Kahlo follows on hands and knees, sinking her gloved hands into the packed surface. The mud has dried into a semi-hard clay. Her boots slide each time she finds a foothold. They crawl through the cramped passage, the Brit light bands on their hoods lighting the way. The passage carries a muffled groan. They continue upward through stairwells clogged with debris. The steps lie buried deep under hardened sediment. The higher they climb, the louder the sound becomes. It must be the wind, but the wind has never sounded like that. Trinidad laughs. Almost there, they pass cables mounted to stone and leading down the passage. Trinidad squeezes through a bent opening that seems too small for a person. Kahlo follows, twisting. Her helmet lamp illuminates roots hanging from fractures in the stone. Some are thicker than her arm. Others resemble dangling cords, disappearing into darkness above. Trinidad stands. Kahlo freezes as she watches Trinidad walk away. Kahlo stands on the floor of what must have been the second level. Above her is open space. The ceiling is gone. Her instinct is to turn around and crawl back down the narrow opening. Massive roots hang downward in curtains. The roots disappear into darkness high overhead. Through the gaps, she sees hints of enormous green-black vines crossing one another. They form a living roof. Trinidad turns and waves. Kahlo follows cautiously. Are we outside? What about the wind? Trinidad laughs. The winds should lift them up and carry them away. Yet only gentle drafts touch Kahlo's suit. The vine absorbs the violence. Lights ahead outline people. The others mill around. Daisuke jogs to Kahlo. She turns in a circle. The canyon walls rise on either side. Between them stretches a twilight world of hanging roots and immense braided vines. Most of the sunlight never reaches the ground, just dim green-gray light. She cannot see where the vine ends. She cannot even guess how high it rises above them. Voices call to her. Adults walk among fallen stone and broken tunnel sections. Bonnie climbs over a part of a long house. Marley points towards something farther down the canyon. Drafts stir clothing and tug at dangling roots, but the deadly winds remain somewhere far above. For the first time in years, people stand outside. They explore together beneath the giant living shelter, smiling, laughing, and looking upward into the tangled vine. The custom cell that Kahlo, Daisuke, and Marley call Cell 1 doesn't eat. It comes charged with power in the form of proteins that release energy slowly. Copies of Cell 1 perform a number of tasks depending on what they find in their immediate surroundings. When they detect the chemical signatures of torn flesh, they send out filaments that bind aggressively. They grow nets across the lacerated capillaries, bridging gaps that platelets alone can't close fast enough. Each anchored Cell 1 secretes a clotting agent that works with a body's blood clotting process. Internal bleeding stops. Most wound healing goes wrong during the inflammatory phase. Too little inflammation and bacteria run riot. Too much inflammation causes the body's defenses to backfire. Cell 1 cells monitor local conditions. When an area is contaminated, they send chemotaxis signals, recruiting the body's defenses and pulling white blood cells to the site. Each Cell 1 carries organelles that capture and neutralize bacteria and viruses. As the infectious burden declines, they secrete signals telling the white blood cells to stand down, preventing chronic inflammatory loops. When the Cell 1s detect that the area is low on oxygen and sugar, they release a growth signal that stimulates the body's blood vessel building systems. This triggers a surge of new blood vessel growth. The body's own cells begin constructing capillaries throughout the damaged tissue. The new vessels spread into the wound, bringing oxygen and nutrients with them. Where needed, Cell 1s signal for fibroblasts. When the fibroblasts arrive, Cell 1s do something that natural cells cannot. They extend long structural tendrils that act as temporary guides. These direct fibroblasts to move in organized patterns through the wound site, building new tissue. Unaided, fibroblasts lay down collagen in a disorganized pattern, creating the dense, crisscrossed fibers that become scar tissue. When Cell 1s aid the healing, they align the fibroblasts so the fibroblasts deposit collagen in the same direction as the original tissue. As a result, the new collagen forms organized, tension-aligned fibers that match healthy tissue. This produces a stronger repair, with less scarring and better function after healing is complete. Cell 1s have one last programmed behavior built into their life cycle: planned obsolescence. As the healing area reaches a point of stability, the Cell 1s dismantle themselves into amino acid fragments that the body recycles. Kahlo leans forward to counterbalance the pack on her back as she hauls another load of rock up the tunnel. The tunnel rises at an angle. Every step burns, and her thighs tremble. Sweat runs down her ribs. Her suit's maxed-out cooling system fails to keep her as cool as she'd like. The right shoulder fan rattles. The pack U-tacks her back and radiates heat. Abrasions streak the sleeves, and smears of clay stick to her thighs. Those heading up stay to the right, and those going down pass on the left. Everyone carries something: sacks of dirt, buckets of gravel, broken chunks of ceiling. Nobody talks much now. A Lutenbot, coming downhill, passes her. Its missing chest plate leaves exposed cables and rods. Mud cakes the mechanisms. Faded decals indicate that it once worked security. It gives her an electronic chirp. Its hull frame is empty now. It's delivered its load to the catapult and is returning for more. Kahlo lifts the drinking tube inside her hood and drains half a liter. The water tastes clean. Moments later, her mouth is dry. No matter how much water she drinks, thirst returns. The ground vibrates. but not from the storm above. Kahlo has learned the difference. This vibration comes from the catapult. The new one is noisier than the one Mars built. A voice comes over the homemade link interface worn around her neck. "Kahlo, it's Bonnie. Kodak is awake. I'd like you to come see him." Kahlo stands outside Bonnie's apartment doorway, sweat drying on her skin. She has changed into green mycelium shirt and pants. Dust clings beneath her fingernails. Her muscles ache. The cool air of the safe hall brushes against her face. She taps on the stone. Bonnie parts the door curtain enough to show her face. Her eyes are red, and a smile flickers on her lips. For a second, she stares. Kahlo tries to think of what to say, until Bonnie parts the curtain and steps aside. Kahlo enters the dim living space. Colorful cloths hanging on the walls softens the stone. Children's drawings cover a section of wall beside a shelf made from salvaged planks. Someone has painted sunflowers on a table. The room smells of mushroom-yielded lavender. Bonnie reaches out as if to grab Kahlo's arm. She stops herself, then reaches once more. Every few seconds, her eyes dart toward the back of the apartment. He's back there. They walk to the other side. Kodak, 12 years old, sits propped against pillows on a narrow bed. Kahlo steadies herself. The last time she saw him, she wasn't sure he would survive the night. Now his eyes are open. They move toward her, but never reach her. She clasps her hands. "Hi, Kodak." His head tilts with a slight nod. Bonnie takes Kahlo's arm. He's been awake for several hours. Kahlo walks to one side of the bed. Bonnie steps around to the other side. "Kodak, Kahlo made the medicine that saved you. Tell her how you're feeling." He stares at the keyboard resting across his lap. One finger presses a key, then another. The screen attached to the keyboard displays a single word. "Good." Kahlo lowers herself into a chair. Her anxiety about whether the new treatment will work hasn't left her. As before, Kodak doesn't smile or make eye contact. Now his movements are slow, and his gaze drifts. When Bonnie sits beside him, he turns his head toward her. The motion reveals the back of his head to Kahlo. She resists the urge to cover her eyes. The skin has healed, pale and smooth, beneath closely cropped hair. But the shape isn't right. A section of the skull dips inward. Another section stands out. Hopefully, the hair will grow back and hide that. Bonnie pats Kodak's hand. "I'm so grateful for what you and Daisuke and Marley have done. Thank you so much." Her eyes flood with tears, and she shakes from head to toe. Kahlo searches for words. "We are so glad he's alive."